Good morning. We are going to start with problem one and keep working our way through it. Okay, so problem one is identify the x-intercept and the y-intercept of this equation, and then we're going to graph it. Okay, so I'm going to start out with the x-intercept. Which is going to give me some value and 0 because every point on the x-axis has a y-coordinate of 0. That means I can substitute in 0 for y, so this gives me 2x minus 3 times 0 is equal to 6. Anything divided by 0 is 0. That gives me 2x is equal to 6, and when I divide by 2, I get that x is 3. So my x-intercept is 3, 0. For my y-intercept, I know anything on the y-axis has an x-coordinate of 0, so I can put 0 in for x. So I have 2 times 0 minus 3y is equal to 6. Anything times 0 is 0. I get negative 3y is equal to 6. When I divide by negative 3, I get y is equal to negative 2. So my y-intercept is 0, negative 2. So now I'm just going to plot these points. 1, 2, 3, 0, 0, negative 2, and then I'm going to connect my dots. Problem 2 is basically the same problem, so let's work on that one. We want to again identify the x-intercept, the y-intercept of 2y plus 2y is equal to 4. Okay. Well, I notice right off on this equation that there's only one variable. So I'm going to first look at that, and I know if there's only one variable, then it has to be a horizontal or a vertical line. So if I have 2y is equal to 4, and I solve that for y, when I divide both sides by 2, I get y equals 2. I know this is a horizontal line where y is 2. Well, where is y 2? Well, y is 2 here, and here, and here, and anywhere we have a y-coordinate of 2. So that tells me that the y-intercept is 0, 2. And since it is a horizontal line, that makes it parallel to the x-axis. So the x-intercept, there's none. Okay. Number 3, identify the x and y intercepts and graph it. Again, same thing. This equation has both variables, so I know I'm going to have a line. All right, so for the x-intercept, again, I know it's going to have an x-coordinate and the y-coordinate is 0, which means I'm going to replace y with 0. So this gives me negative x minus 4 times 0 is equal to 8. That becomes 0. Negative x is 8. If I divide both sides by negative 1, I get x equals negative 8. Okay. Now, negative 8 is not on my grid, so I may have to come back and do something different with that. Okay, so the y-intercept is going to be is going to be 0 and some value of y. So I'm going to put in 0 for x and solve for y. So that gives me negative 4y is equal to 8. When I divide by negative 4, I get y equals negative 2. Okay. So 0, negative 2 I can graph easily, but negative 8, 0 is over here off my grid. So I may want to find a different way to do it. So if I find the slope, I can find another point on the graph. So I'm going to put the equation negative x minus 4y equals 8 and turn it into slope intercept form, which means solve for y. Okay, so if I start out with negative x minus 4y equals 8, I'll add x to both sides. That gives me negative 4y is equal to x plus 8. I'm going to have to do this up here. I'm going to divide everything by negative 4. So that gives me y is equal to negative 1/4 x minus 2. Okay. Well, this confirms my y-intercept, and now with my slope, I know how to find another point. I know since this is negative, if I start with this point and go down 1 and to the right 4, I can find another point. Since this is negative, negative means go down and then to the right. So from here I go down 1 over 1, 2, 3, 4, and there's another point on my line. So if I graph this and try to do it accurately, this makes sense because if I extend this graph, it looks like it's going to hit it right at about negative 8. Okay. Next one. Okay, so for the x-intercept, I know my y is equal to 0. So I have 3 times 0 equals negative 4x minus 12. This becomes 0 equals negative 4x minus 12. So I want to solve for x. I can do this in two ways. I can move the 12 over, so let's do that. So let's add 12 to both sides. That gives me 12 is equal to negative 4x. If I divide by negative 4, I finally get that x is equal to negative 3. For my y-intercept, I know that my x is 0, and I have to solve for y. So that gives me 3y is equal to negative 4 times 0 minus 12. Anything times 0 is 0. So that gives me 3y is equal to negative 12. And when I divide by 3, I get that y is equal to negative 4. So I have to plot negative 3, 0. I have to plot 0, negative 4. And then I connect my dots. Okay. All right, now I'm going to do all the ones with dealing with graphing in the same one. All right, so on number 5, it says to find the slope of the line passing through the points negative 1, negative 3, and 3, 2, and then graph the line. Okay, so to find the slope, remember the formula is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And I'm just going to randomly call this x1, y1, and this one x2, y2. So in this situation, my slope is y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. So that becomes 2 plus 3 divided by 3 plus 1, which is 5 over 4. So there's my slope. Now, to graph the line, since both of these points are on the grid, I can just plot these points. -1, -3, 3, 2, and then I connect my dots. Okay. Well, it's looking good so far. My slope is a positive number. This line is going up from left to right. So now I'm just going to check and see if my slope matches my graph. So from here I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and over 1, 2, 3, 4. So up 5, to the right 4, confirms that my slope is 5/4. Now you could have found the slope doing it opposite of graphing the points and then counting up and over, which I'll do on the next one. Okay, so we want to find the slope of the line passing through the points. -2, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And -3, -1. So let's look at this and see if I can find the slope, and then I'll confirm it using the slope formula. Okay. So to get from this point to this point, I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So up 6 and to the right 1. So from the graph, the slope is 6 over 1, or 6. Now again, let's confirm that. x1, y1, x2, y2. So my slope is going to be -1 minus 5 divided by -3 minus -2, which is -6 over, and this becomes -3 plus 2, -1, which is just 6. So I confirmed it. Okay. All right, find the slope of the line passing through the points 2, 2, and -10, -4. Okie dokie. Well, it gives you a hint here. -10, -4 is not on the grid. So I'm going to have to use the slope formula. So again, the slope formula is y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. We'll call this x1, y1, and this x2, y2, just because we can. And so my slope becomes -4 minus 2 divided by -10 minus 2. So that gives me -6 divided by -12, which when I reduce that becomes 1/2. So that means I can plot the point and then from there go up 1 and to the right 2. This is the point that's not on the graph, so I'm going to graph this one. So I'm going to plot the point 2, 2. And then to find another point, I'm going to go up 1 and to the right 2 and connect my dots. Okay. All right, find the slope of the line passing through the point 720, clearly not on the grid, and 0, -1. All right, so let's get that slope formula going again. M is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. x1, y1, x2, y2. So my slope is going to be y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. So that's negative 21 divided by negative 7, which is a positive 3. And I'm going to go ahead and put it over 1 to remember that I have to do a vertical change and a horizontal change. So I'll plot the point 0, negative 1. And this tells me I'm from there to find another point on the line. I'll go up 3 and to the right 1. 1, 2, 3, 1. And then I connect my dots. Okay, that's the last problem that involves graphing linears, so I'm going to stop the video and start a new one.